mentors when it improves people's life. I'm truly happy that we meet again this year together with the ROHEALTH-Cluster team, partners who give community to this initiative. I would like to thank them sincerely for their commitment and for the effort behind this impressive event. And very special thank you, Flaviana Rotaru, my dear friend. It's not easy to bring together so many experts, but it's truly wonderful when we all share the same purpose, health and progress. As a PhD candidate at the Technical University of Cluj-Napoca, under my guidance of Professor Adrian Pâslă, I had the chance to connect space research with practical application in healthcare. Thank you. This panel reflects exactly that link between research and real life, between technology and people. Today, when healthcare depends more and more on technology and data, the space sector can offer great support. Technology tested in space, satellites, communication, data analyzing, or digital twin can help us better prevent, monitor, and respond to challenges here on Earth. So, Space2Health and Health2Space is not just a title, it's a vision about working together, help us better prevent for the good of all. I'm honored to be welcome our guests, experts, and innovators who will share their experience and ideas on how space technology can make healthcare stronger and more sustainable. And of course, we are glad to be partners again this year, ROHEALTH-Cluster. Thank you. To open this part of our panel dedicated to the role of space technology in public health, I'm happy to invite my professor and my mentor, Professor Dr. Engineer Adrian Pâslă from Technical University Cluj-Napoca.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to see you here today. And without a past, we don't have a real big future. And for the second time, because this is an initiative that was started in Cluj-Napoca, and now we have the privilege, and for me it's a privilege to be among the great people that put Romania on a map with the certain fields that not everybody knows, actually, and not everybody appreciates at the real level. And you, as the future that will make a continuity, because probably that's why you are today here. And I will like to start to introduce the Vice President of the Astronomy Association, Mr. Dr. Piso, that will have the honor to be the first presenter of us. So actually the connection that he made with ESA and our projects that already we are successful with our laboratory, with our PhD students, it's also the merit of you as the president at the time of the ROSA that support us all, by all means. Thank you for that, and please.
Thank you, Professor Pâslă. Thank you for giving me the floor.
Here.
I will try to speak from somewhere.
From here.
Here is better. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I have the presentation?
Yes.
I think
Just a moment.
I should have one. Ladies and gentlemen, I will give you a brief talk about some trends in space technology and health. And I will start with an example of typical space applications in pharma. And then I will brief you a bit about the activities, the global activities on space and health in two international organizations, the International Academy of Astronautics and the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Usage of Outer Space. May I use it?
I think so.
Great. Oh, the beginning is good.
Next.
So this is the contents. So microgravity is the space environment specific feature. One cannot, microgravity, this means weightlessness, means imponderabilitate. You cannot produce it on Earth, only for, let's say, tenths of seconds, using ballistic flights or free fall. And microgravity is extremely important, in particular for, let's say, material science, but for technology. And I'm giving you an example. You can study biological molecules and processes. They are evolving without sedimenting. Then the proteins are crystallizing more uniforms in space. The tissues, they are growing in other way than in, under the Earth gravity. And I will give you some, let's say, examples from companies which performed experiments on board the International Space Station. There were more than 500 experiments performed on the ISS. And this is a typical antiviral, anti-cancer medicine which has been produced by Merck, by a well-known company, on the International Space Station. And they got a better viscosity, a better injectability potential for injectable forms. Another study was an organ-on-chip studies. The organ-on-chip is a new technology in which you are emulating organs, human organs on chips, on microchips, on electronics. Much of the benefits are also in faster observation of aging-related process. You are aware that to produce drugs, you need sometimes 10 years or more for testing them. In microgravity, you can speed up the process with years. Then, this is a typical partnership in this moment between the public sectors, so the owners of the International Space Station, a list is them there, from NASA, Roscosmos, European Space Agency, the Japanese Space Agency, the Canadian, the National Institute of Health, and the private sector, where you can see Merck, Boeing, Space Pharma, Space Tango, Redwire, and many others. Good, I think that is a problem with good. This is the next frontier where you can utilize the microgravity environment for producing drugs. And it is an interesting commercial potential to build specific space stations or simply larger satellites where you can build drug factories. I give you some references. Now I'm going to global facts. The International Academy of Astronautics, this is an international organization established in 1960 in Stockholm. Presently, there are something like 1,100 members from 94 countries. So they are the top level in their countries in astronautics, space science, space technology. The election is quite difficult. you need referees, and you need to have a free place there. The Academy is also publishing a journal, which is #1 in space. It is called Acta Astronautica, which is publishing also space life sciences and space medicine related issues. And the Academy is a permanent observer to the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. And in my quality as a Vice President, I am the representative for the UN of this organization. I'm giving you a brief list of the study groups of the Academy which are related to space medicine. I just did a short selection. So you can see different medical safety liability issues for short duration commercial orbital flights. It is published since 2009. Most of those studies are published. And there are some new studies or some ongoing studies which are not already public, but they will be published in short. Normally, we're publishing something like 10 to 12 studies per year, not only in space medicine. Another one, so this is psychology and culture during long-duration space missions. It has been undertaken by the German Space Agency, also 15 years ago. And there are the basics of the long-duration space missions. Then, the bed rest studies. You are aware of the bed rest studies, which are undertaken by NASA or also by the European Space Agency. So, one or several persons, they are kept in bed in some specific conditions for 1 year or more sometimes. They're very important for studying the long-term flights. Another area is e-learning, education content sharing, technical legal issues in space sciences. Another one, space with the generalization of space technology for less developed areas, so space life sciences for Africa. Knowledge sharing and development in Africa. Space physiology and medicine in the exploration era. It is a proposal to build an International Academy of Astronautics virtual institute of space life sciences and medicine. Then, quite new one, challenges in medical support for an international human expedition to Mars. It has been presented last year with the opportunity of the meeting of IAA in Paris in the last March. So, you can access those studies on the site of the IAA, of the Academy, and anytime you can ask for questions, and you can also take part to some studies. You just can express your intention, and the study group committee will, let's say, approve or select or, communicate with you. The United Nations. The United Nations is one of the entities of the UN is the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, having a permanent secretariat which is located since 1993 in Vienna. That committee has two specific committees, scientific and technical, and the legal one. Presently, there are 106 member states, and the item Space and Health has been introduced in the main agenda of the committee in 2018. And a working group for space health has been established. Presently, it is under the leadership of Switzerland. I just can mention that Cosmonaut Pronariu and myself, we are both delegates in the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space since 1993. Just think of it. And most Pronariu has been the chairman of the committee. I have also been chairman of the committee 5 years ago. So we have some experience, and you can utilize this experience for any other uses. Come on. Okay. So, space and health. The idea is that space applications usually they are called the space communications, the positioning, navigation, timing, the so-called GPS, and Earth observation, or remote sensing of the Earth by satellite. And they provide tools to accelerate sustainable development in areas as health. And the utilization in health issues started from, let's say, from less developed countries, which were monitored by satellite, which were, they have been offered capabilities to communicate, for telemedicine, for example, even during the 80s. You can see here some space and global health sectors as established by this working group of the UN. So the first of all, the UN should facilitate the utilization for medicine and for health generally of the space applications as telecommunications, as GNSS, as remote sensing and geographic information systems, and also to have access to space life science and technology development produced by the main space agencies and countries. Then, UN is encouraging the national level cooperation in specific countries, then is sustaining a policy-enabled environment, for example, to adopt solutions like telemedicine, which is a difficult thing to implement normally and not for technical reasons. Data accessibility and sharing is also a purpose of this UN working group. And open data policies is one of the issues. Open data is generalizing in most areas, even in basic science and in technology before patenting. Then interoperability is another issue. So we might be able to utilize the space tool from any place in the world. Then the implementation is also an issue, and here the political and technical agencies, and together with the UN and other intergovernmental organizations, should try to put together to make the same facilities, the same capability to access the tools for any country in the world. So the geotagging health, this is also an issue. And also preparedness, you should conduct exercises for capacities to utilize space tools. Then knowledge management is extremely important, which also means data sharing. Then capacity building, which is what we are doing here, as I understand. Not only capacity building, but capacity building is one of the issues supporting this conference. They are the key themes we can learn from this. You should think that this document is a result of work of more than 200 experts in the area and approved by more than 100 countries. General trends. We should, in space medicine, and I'm very close to the end of this speech, so we should think that space applications should be utilized for the health of the citizen. For example, this watch, since more than 5 years, this watch is able to record medical parameters as pulse, as let's say blood pressure, as electrocardiograms, and other features. And this watch is extremely easy to be coupled by a satellite. This watch contains sensors of GPS and everything. So if I have an accident by chance anywhere, this watch can immediately report the change in the functioning of the heart, and an ambulance can come immediately without a need to be called for this. This is not applied anywhere. The mechanism exists. The MDs, they used to hire the halters, let's say. This one is a bit cheaper and easier, because this is a problem of policy in the between medical people, let's say. And it is very difficult, so things become cheaper, things become more operational. And this is another issue which is very, very important in the area of health, and in particular when you are utilizing technology in space health. We should think, I just mentioned that in this moment Earth is becoming protected by a large cloud of satellites, of telecom and on-orbit computing capabilities. And one of the facts which happened a couple of years ago was that 8 billion is a small number. So basically the capacity, the countable capacity of 8 billion human brains, if we are counting the cells, is in this moment smaller than the computing capabilities we are accessing. And this is a real effect. Thank you very much, and sorry for the time.
Thank you, Professor Piso.
Okay.
I think that we have an asteroid with your name. Even Dr. Dumitru Pronariu has an asteroid with his name. So we continue our journey, this time with Professor Dr. Engineer Dumitru Dorin Pronariu. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank the organizers of this huge event, Ms. Mariana Botaro and Sylvia Ogri, who gathered all the speakers and put us together. On the other hand, I had a feeling up there in the outer space that for doing a lot of things that were managed and
Okay.
Just a button.
Okay, okay. The light was turned on and I thought that it works. So, distinguished colleagues, esteemed scientists, fellow explorers of both the human body and the cosmos. It is both an honor and a deeply personal privilege to stand before you today at the intersection of two vast frontiers, space and health. These frontiers are, in truth, two sides of the same coin. One explores the limits of the human body and mind under the most extreme conditions imaginable. The other seeks to protect health and enhance that body and mind so they can endure, adapt, and thrive. When I was launched into space aboard Soyuz 40 spaceship in 1981, I could not have imagined that decades later my journey would become part of a much larger conversation, one that goes beyond national pride or scientific curiosity and into the shared human quest for survival, well-being, and progress. Back then, we did not yet use the terms Space2Health and Health2Space, but the principles were already there. Every medical experiment we perform aboard the Salyut 6 space station, every observation of the body's adaptation to microgravity, every careful measurement of blood pressure, vision, and muscle performance was part of an ongoing dialogue between Earth and orbit. Today, as we discuss these concepts openly, we recognize that the road from orbit to operating room and from hospitals to spacecraft is not only real, but essential. And I stand before you as someone who has traveled both metaphorically and literally along that road. So, space is the most unforgiving environment a human can enter. It strips away all illusions of comfort, safety, and control. You are suspended in a fragile bubble of technology, moving at 28,000 kilometers per hour, surrounded by vacuum, radiation, and silence. Yet, the greatest challenge are not outside the spacecraft, but within our own bodies. From the first day aboard Salyut 6 space station, I could feel microgravity changing me. Simple movements became effortless yet strange. Fluids shifted towards my head, causing facial puffness and a feeling of constant nasal congestion. My muscles, relieved of the daily duty of supporting my weight, began to relax in ways they never had before, but with relaxation came the first signs of atrophy. We conducted systematic measurements, cardiovascular monitoring, muscle strength tests, and biomedical analysis. These were not only for science, they were for safety. In space, your health is your lifeline, and a small, undetectable problem can escalate quickly when you are hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest hospital. I recall vividly one experiment, a set of exercises with elastic bands to maintain muscle tone. At first, they seemed almost too easy, but after a week, the difference was visible. My calves and thighs were already losing definition. The absence of gravity means the body no longer needs to work to keep you upright. We also dealt with the psychological component. Space, its isolation, at its purest. I lived in a small volume with one in the spaceship and 3 crewmates on board the space station, separated from family, friends, and the sensory variety of Earth. This isolation is not unlike that patients in long-term medical care experience, a parallel I only understood years later, when I saw hospital rooms equipped with nature simulation videos to reduce stress. In the return phase, readaptation to Earth's gravity was its own challenge. Muscles and balance systems had to relearn their roles. Walking a straight line was unexpectedly difficult. These experiments gave me a deep appreciation for the complexity of human health and the resilience of the human body, but also for the fragility of that balance. The most visible contribution to space medicine to Earth is technological. From heart monitors to water purification systems, from lightweight medical materials to real-time telemedicine platforms, space research has seen innovations that have transformed terrestrial healthcare. For example, the miniaturization of sensors, originally developed to monitor astronauts' vital signs, now allows us to track heart activity in premature infants or elderly patients at home. Telemedicine, perfected for use in orbit when direct physical investigations it's impossible. It's now used daily to connect rural patients with specialized doctors. The study of bone loss in microgravity has directly influenced osteoporosis treatment protocols. Research about the International Space Station revealed the rapid pace of bone density reduction in weightlessness, a process comparable to decades of aging compressed into months. This accelerated model has allowed researchers to test treatments for faster than would be possible on Earth. Similarly, space-developed exercise equipment has been adapted for rehabilitation clinics. Compact, resilience-based devices designed for spacecraft now help stroke survivors and trauma patients rebuild muscles strength without requiring heavy gym installations. The isolation studies performed for space missions have also improved understanding of mental health. Techniques developed to maintain crew morale, structured daily schedules, purposeful tasks, virtual communications with loved ones are now applied in long-term care facilities and in mental health therapy. Just as space has given much to medicine, medicine has given much to space. The longer our missions, the more autonomous our medical systems must become. In my mission, we had the luxury of being a few hours away from Earth in case of an emergency. Future crews bound for Mars will not have that option. This is where health to space becomes critical. Advances in terrestrial medicine, particularly in robotics, artificial intelligence, and regenerative therapies, are paving the way for healthcare in deep space. One striking example is MIRA, the miniaturized in-space robotic assistance. Originally a terrestrial surgical robot, it has been adapted for space to allow astronauts with minimal surgical training to perform procedures under remote supervisions. Regenerative medicine, including stem cell therapy, may help repair radiation-induced tissues damage or bone degenerations during long missions. Likewise, advances in compact diagnostic imaging are making it possible to carry portable ultrasound or even MRI equivalent devices aboard spacecraft. Training astronauts in medical procedures, it's already part of the pre-flight preparation. But in the future, we may see artificial intelligence-driven medical co-pilots that guide crews step by step through complex investigations. This is not science fiction. Prototypes already exist. Looking forward, I see space medicine as both a necessary and an opportunity. On the necessity side, any sustained human presence on the Moon, Mars, on in orbit will require autonomous medical systems capable of preventing, diagnosing, and treating a wide range of conditions. On the opportunity side, these systems can revolutionize healthcare on Earth. Imagine a rural clinic in the developing country equipped with the same AI-assisted diagnostics as a Mars habitat. The leap in accessibility could be transformative. We will also see biofabrication play a significant role. The ISS has already been used to 3D print human tissues. In microgravity, the absence of sedimentation and collapse allows for more precise structures, an advantage that may lead to organ printing capabilities that save lives on Earth. Nanomedicine, generic tailoring of treatments, and preventive health monitoring are all part of the same technological ecosystems. Romania has contributed modest but significant expertise in biomedical monitoring, psychological research, and airspace engineering within European Space Agency programs. Our scientists and engineers have participated in projects that study human adaptation to space and the development of monitoring systems for space missions. Come on. Okay. Europe as a whole has been a strong advocate for integrating space and health research. The European Space Agency's Space2E program, for example, systematically addresses human health risks in space while actively seeking terrestrial applications. Romanian researchers have been involved in microgravity experiments aboard parabolic flights and ISS missions, focusing on cardiovascular and microskeletal adaptation. These contributions, though less visible than large spacecraft launches, are vital pieces of the health space puzzle. Some conclusions and opportunities. When I first saw Earth from orbit, a fragile blue sphere without borders, suspended in the blackness, I realized how artificial most of our divisions are. In space, survival depends on cooperation. The same is true for health, both on Earth and beyond. The challenges of keeping humans alive and healthy in space are immense, but they are also catalysts for unprecedented innovation. Each advancement made for astronauts becomes a potential lifeline for patients on Earth, and every breakthrough in medicine brings us one step closer to the stars. Let's continue to bridge those opportunities, not as separate communities, but as a human endeavor, united in purpose. Because we are talking about a patient in a hospital bed or an astronaut in orbit, the mission is the same: to preserve life, to enhance its quality, and to extend its reach into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. The space was yours, and now let's move closer to the biological side. Dr. Bena, please share your insight with us. Thank you. Okay. No.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. It is a great honor and also a great pleasure for me to be here. That's why I have to thank to the organizing committee, especially Professor Adrian Püsler, for his kind invitation and for his openness to medical collaboration, and of course to Sylvia for the great organization that she took care of here in this conference. I have a very hard role to speak after the most important persons in air and space in Romania, but I will try to have an overview from the medical standpoint of the human physiological changes that astronauts experience, the mechanisms behind those alterations, and the incredible resilience that allows the human body to endure space conditions that it was never naturally designed for. It is vital to understand not just the mechanics of spacecraft, but also the malleability and the limitations of the most complex mechanism ever created, that's the human body. I will investigate the general workings of the organism in microgravity and the consequences of cosmic radiation, and as my specialty implies, and as the system of organs that is most influenced by the changes, I will insist on the musculoskeletal system. And finally, we will see how this knowledge paves the way for innovation in protective mechanisms and support systems, ranging from advanced exercise protocols and wearable technologies to artificial gravity environments and robotic assistance. For me, space and air traveling was always a dream. I didn't have the chance to take part, even though I had a candidature for ESA selection of astronauts in 2021. So I will speak only from the theoretical point of view of these physiological changes in microgravity, and not like as His Excellency Dumitru Prunariu, that he even knows better on his own skin, as we can say. The conditions of microgravity, radiation, isolation, and altered day-night cycles profoundly affect nearly every major physiological system, from our heart and blood vessel to the nervous system and sensory organs, to our cells, especially those implicated in immunity, and even further to our DNA. Some of these changes will begin within hours of entering the orbit, while others will evolve over weeks or months. And although many of them are reversible upon return to Earth, long-term missions present much greater challenges for recovery and adaptations. So I will just quickly pass by through the cardiovascular system. As His Excellency said, the blood circulation shifts from moving downwards towards upwards. So the upper part of the body will have a higher blood pressure, a higher blood volume, causing the appearance of a puffy face and chicken legs with the aspect of atrophic limbs. Also, the astronauts will develop orthostatic hypotension, tachycardia, low diuresis, even hemolysis. The arrhythmia can be another problem, that the heart can be affected by the radiation and the cardiac cell stress due to oxidative stress and inflammation. The nervous system is affected on short term by the decreased gray matter volume and an increased white matter volume, with an increased intracranial pressure due to the high blood flow, and also a pituitary depression and vegetative changes with the adrenaline rush, and also will influence the behavior comportment. The long-term affectation could include that radiation-accelerated aging, with symptoms that are specific to chronic neuroinflammation resembling Alzheimer's disease. Other sensory organs will be affected. The inner ear will suffer some vestibular changes, as the otoliths needs gravity for functioning. They will have a malfunction, and they will transmit some contrary impulses to the brain. And also the eye will send some other impulses, and the brain will be effectively lost. So we will have a loss of orientation and some space motion sickness, as can happen in cars or in flight. And also that will arrive to the return to Earth syndrome, when the astronaut will be a little bit feeling dizzy and will not be able to walk again in the first times. Other sensory organs will be most effective: the eye, with the possibility of appearance of cataract, retina damages, those light flashes caused by cosmic radiation, and also glaucoma and some papillary edema. The immune system will also be disorganized by an increase in polymorphonuclear concentration and a decrease in lymphocyte activity that could lead to reactivation of latent viruses infection like the herpes virus, and also some increased allergic, autoimmune and hypersensitivity reactions possible. Also, the microbiome from our gut will be affected, and we all know how important is the role of the microbiome nowadays. It can lead to the increased number of Clostridia, of negative bacteria, let's say, and a decrease in number of the positive bacteria. Of course, there will be effects on the genetics and oncology with the possibility of appearance of gene mutation and even developing of cancers. But getting back to my main favorite subject, which is the musculoskeletal system. Some effects of space traveling and microgravity is included in the bone density loss, the muscle atrophy, a reduced diameter of the tenocyte cells, which we find in tendons, and disordered ligament healing, spinal disc degeneration, and also cartilage degradations. We all know that the bone metabolism needs gravity for well functioning. In the absence of gravity, the bone homeostasis, that is the production and resorption of bone, is impaired, in having a greater osteoclast activity, which will lead to osteoporosis. Osteopenia first, and then osteoporosis. In experiments, it was proven that osteopenia appear in weight-bearing bones and leading the possibility to hypercalcium and hyperphosphate concentration in the blood, thus increasing the kidney stone risk also. This process is partially reversible after landing to Earth. In a few months, it will be compensated. There were some experiments about fracture healing and the treatment of bone loss. It was proven that the bisphosphonates that we usually administer for osteoporosis have an effect in improving or in decreasing bone degeneration, but due to their gastrointestinal adverse effects, it is impossible to administer them for outer space flying, while there may be other molecules that could be, or other strategies to prevent this depletion of bones. There were experiments concerning the fracture healing, which resulted in which proved a reduced callus formation, so impaired bone healing, and difficile callus ossification. This was studied in mice. Also, the cartilage seems to degrade faster in space than here on Earth due to also influence of radiation and imponderability. But in an experiment, it was proven that cartilage grafting, cartilage repair with a special collagen membrane and implantation of chondrocytes gave better results than here on Earth, that possibly be to the microgravity, and it leads to a cartilage repair with a closer resemblance to native cartilage. The spinal disc is also involved, and it can lead to degeneration of it. Also to the vertebra, the upper third will be most exposed in the bone, and also there can be such a syndrome of space adaptation back pain due to the elongation of the whole spine. It's about 5 to 7 centimeters. The spine will elongate in the absence of gravity, leading to irritation of nerve roots and that back pain. Ligament healing in space, also on a murine study, was proven that the microgravity will impair ligament healing. These are the photos of the microscopic views. Also, the tendons will alterate, especially in the lower limb. The Achilles tendon showed a decreased tenocyte of cell diameter, and also the diameter of collagen fibrils decreased, while the upper part of the body, like the rotator cuff, the muscles around the shoulders and the tendons, they didn't get to be affected because they do not function based on gravity. The muscle atrophy was proven to affect mostly the postural muscle that maintain our posture, because without gravity we don't have a weight to maintain, but no significant arm muscle was lost. The countermeasures for these effects will be most important to have an artificial gravity rooms or the aerobic and resistive exercises. It was proven that simple neuromuscular electric stimulation or by vibration did not improve the muscle function and atrophy. The technologies that we can use would be made of experimental wearable systems with wearable robotics like the rigid exoskeletons or the soft exosuits. First, there were developed some costumes to counterweight the gravity and to have a resistance for our actions, like the penguin suit or the gravity loading countermeasure suit, but they were very hard to be used, so they developed also the biosuit, which is more effective in being used and to have these anti-gravitational effects. Also, the variable vector countermeasure suit, the V2 suit, was developed which they seem to work better in the microgravity atmosphere. Rigid exoskeletons, they can enhance the mobility of joints. They can improve muscle functions, like they are more than a wearable gym feature. They assist joint movement, and they can improve the mechanical loading on joints and muscles. But there were developed also some soft robotics made of soft tissue, which are light, flexible, and more comfortable in improving the baseline mechanical load and with a less force produced for the astronaut. In conclusion, as we are here from different fields, we have astronauts, we have technical people that can develop things. I think that only the collaboration between us, all of us, can lead to improvement of health knowledge and of health measures for a better astronaut condition. Thank you very much.
Orthopedics at the Cluj-Napoca Emergency Clinical Hospital, Associate Professor at the Iuliu Hațeganu University of Medicine and Pharmacy. So, from physiological things, we now move to the communication, data, and innovation policy. Mr. Dragoș Preda, my dear friend, please enjoy me to present your information.
Hello.
Hello.
Even if I might seem to the others that I'm the more technical guy, I don't have a presentation because, you know, we tend to lose our imagination and our thinking more and more. We use so much AI. I try to organize my presentation with ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to create a presentation. I've sent it to you, but it's so you know, basic. It's so raw, so I'm not using it. You know, I've always been like some kind of Benjamin Button, and for me it's a privilege to be standing next to my predecessors, Mr. Prunariu and Mr. Piso. They made me dream of the things that I tried to do for Romania. We were about in 2022 to think about, you know, the satellites. Mr. Piso came with this dear vision and will to project the G2G satellite. I was more like, some guys mock me like, you know, the Elon Musk of Romania, because I've started discussions with Starlink and with also with EIE, the Israeli company, to launch, you know, nanosatellites and microsatellites. But the reason I came today is that, you know, we think about developments in space, but we don't realize that in fact those developments in space are more useful here on Earth and to our daily life than space exploration. I'm very pragmatic into this to tell you that I don't think that in the near future we will really travel in space. Those are just, you know, like holidays in space that we do now. We cannot take people to stay more than 1 year at a time. And you know what's the similarity? The thing is that I worked in MOD, Ministry of Defense. I worked with civil capabilities. I even built the strategy, national strategy for civil capabilities in theater of operations. You know, a seconded officer, how long he stays in a theater of operations. Ironically, because I was listening to my predecessors saying that, it stays for 6 months. You know why? Because of this. And he can ask for another, you know, 6 months to stay in a mission, in the theater of operations. So no longer than 1 year, they stay in theater of operations. I think very strange about those similarities. And also I worked in sports with some of our greatest sportsmen. And the last strategy, not the current one, but the last one during Savo and Lipa, I was the coordinator of it. And the thing is that there are so many similarities between, you know, the space traveling, high-performance sportsmen, and military. So nowadays, in fact, as I was saying in an article that will be launched next week, yes, we can say next week because it's almost November. Dual-use economy trends in 2025 are characterized by growing recognition of the strategic importance of innovation with both civilian and military applications, driven by the rising geopolitical tensions and rising defense budgets. We should start, and the thing is that we should do that more often, thinking dual use by design, and build all our innovations and technologies by dual use by design. We were doing that 100 years ago. We stopped doing that because, okay, we said that put us on the verge of wars. But come on, that's the reality even today. We face it, and we face it more dynamically than we faced it ever in our life. Why I wanted, you know, to think more dynamically for Romania when I, you know, like a crazy man, put Romania first time in World Teleport Association. Nowadays, it's not anymore, even if it happened about 3 years ago. I don't know. I won't, you know, blame anybody. But in fact, Romania has all the capabilities needed to, you know, respond to the innovation that we face today. And Europe still has that capability, especially as I pointed out several times, the EU funding programs, also the defense funding programs of 2 billion that can be accessed. Also with the innovations that Professor Puzla and Professor Bena and a dear friend that I had the pleasure to talk with last evening, you put together and you put up front, and you can use that not only for Romania innovation, but for European innovation. Otherwise, the dynamics of innovation worldwide, it's developing faster than we can believe it. And you know what space offers us as an experience? It's not the space travel. I try to be very pragmatic with all of you. We won't be traveling that, soon. Perhaps in 10 generations in space. We don't have the capability to adapt for longer periods, and not yet the technology. And yet, if we face the realities on our blue planet, the society doesn't go up, it goes down, in fact, with all the artifacts and technology that we build in. And what I'm saying that what space offers, through your research especially, but I've been listening, space offers today a very fast pace to see the results of your research. You have the opportunity through research in space to see how fast can you put together the results. And that's what space offers us, in fact. More than, the dream of space traveling and everything. And that can help us also on Earth here with our developments, with our society developments, and also especially what's going on today. I'll try to stop now. I put some things forward. Also, so listening to Mr. Benan and talking before with Mr. Prunariu, I would just cite you in-flight medical events for US astronauts during the Space Shuttle program from 89 to 98. Only 6 circulatory systems events. Only 26 infectious diseases. Only 2 endocrine. But 788 space adaptation syndrome. And about your dear subject, 132 musculoskeletal system and connectivity tissue, 83 respiratory systems, 151 skin and subcutaneous tissues, 163 digestive systems, 318 nervous systems and sense organs. So that was about 3 decades ago that we observed those things. I think space can help us a lot here on Earth, more than space travel, and that we should keep in mind. And also the technology that we build in, always, dear professors, allow me to ask you, dual use by design. Otherwise, we won't keep the pace, and we won't find the finance necessary for that. Thank you once again for giving me the floor and having this opportunity to speak before you. I like, and it's a pleasure to speak, more relaxed between us. It's like a brain crashing with fabulous results. Hats off, Sylvia, and thank you for all this, experience for the last 5 years that we have together, also with the kids, and not only with the genius people here around us. Hats off for ROHEALTH and for everybody here. I would like to thank also Catalin for keeping up, the media for the brains, and everybody here taking your time. You have legends here, but you know what? It's more important is to try to follow the path, because it's nice to look at the the statues. Yeah, it is better keeping the shade of the statues. So try to keep up the pace, because I'm looking also at my father. Both gentlemen know him also, and I tell them, look, there are less and less youngsters around you, and you should have more and more youngsters around you, because you should be like, you know, the path givers, and that we should take in more in account for the younger generation. I know that I look young for some of you, but I'm not that young. Thank you once again. Have a nice experience here, because for me it's an experience, a beautiful experience for listening for you, even if I know you and I read about you and I read you and we talk so much. Hats off again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my dear friend. 5 years, Digital Nurse, Digital Challenge, Aerospace Challenge, and now Health in Space, of course, BEHEALTH. So, now we move into the second part of our panel, dedicated to exploring how innovation and international collaboration can strengthen the connection between the space and health ecosystem. So it's my pleasure and my honor to once again invite Professor Puzla to open this section.
Thank you so much. So it was a pleasure to see.
You have, yes.
All right. It's working? No, yet, maybe.
Don't push the button.
Now it's working.
Okay.
So, it's okay? No, it's better. So, such a connected audience to work hard to see what they know, to separate from what they found out. So it was a pleasure to see this kind of audience, actually. And also for us, it's a great experience. Mentioning the international connection, we have the privilege again to have a colleague from United States, from Nebraska, that is one of the most appreciated specialists in robotics. And we also was connected quite a lot with robotics dedicated to medical application, because it's a huge mistake. Usually they say medical robotics. That's not existing. So actually, there are robots that can be customized for different fields of medicine. But medical robotics, no, the humans are the best medical robotics. They can adapt. But for the moment, we have our colleague from United States. And what we will see then, it's probably how the followers of these people, this generation that start the connection with the space, so up to now was Space to Earth, we want to introduce this support as the dual application that it was mentioned as much as possible. So please give the floor, presentation to Carl Nelson.
Hello, Professor Nelson. Good morning. please share again your presentation. Okay. Thank you. It's good.
For healthcare applications on Earth, we have demanding design specifications. For space applications in general, the environments are harsh and extreme, and this implements the need for demanding design specifications as well. In space, we have limited resources in situ. On Earth, for healthcare applications, we have other constraints, such as customers with strong opinions and disposition to either accept or not accept different innovations. Time-based limitations. So limited real-time access in space. We've talked about a little bit about communications in space. In healthcare, we have the time sensitivity of performing the medical task. In many cases, everything is time constrained, time bound. In space, we have weight and size restrictions to actually put equipment into space. In healthcare, we have biocompatibility constraints. Both of these are essentially material constraints. In space, we have a very low tolerance for error. We need very high reliability. In healthcare, it's the same. Very low tolerance for error. We want all of our medical systems to be very robust. And in both domains, space and healthcare, there are rigorous testing systems in place to ensure that level of rigor, that level of resilience and robustness of these designed systems. So in light of these commonalities between the space domain and the healthcare domain, we see that there is a lot of cross-pollination possible. The key similarities include the highly demanding requirements and then just the constrained nature of the design problems that we see in space and in healthcare. And we care about more or less the same things. We care about the survival of the human that's in the system. We care about the correct and robust functioning of the equipment. And we want to avoid at all costs failure. This has high monetary costs, but also high human costs. So as a result, my argument to you today is that we should apply similar thought processes to both the healthcare domain and the space domain, and that ideas then should flow freely back and forth between the design problems in those domains. And in some cases, if we're lucky, we can apply similar design solutions in both domains. Here are a few examples from the history of space exploration and also really up until today. Diagnostics, this has been mentioned before, just the challenge of monitoring the human condition in space. So for example, the development of portable ultrasound that where you can plug the ultrasound probe directly into a smartphone, in contrast to a large kind of dedicated piece of hospital equipment needed to perform that ultrasound scan. Telemedicine. In the lower right is a picture of, I believe, what was called holocasting, an experiment to find out the effects of telepresence and to really just experiment with the paradigm of telemedicine in space. Wearable sensors. On the lower left is a current design for wearable sensor suit designed for astronauts. It's called AstroSkin. Environmental controls, so controlling the living environment of a spacecraft, a space structure, or in contrast, medical environment, an operating room, or a patient room on Earth. On the right, we have an air quality system that was recently deployed to the International Space Station for keeping the correct balance of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and so forth, and maintaining cleanliness and purity of the air. Also radiation, so exposure, assessing risk, shielding from radiation, watching for the occurrence of possible cancers. All of these are examples where healthcare that's earthbound and healthcare that is happening in space are bleeding together and cross-pollinating ideas. One current example that I am happy to share with you is the Mira robot, which is developed by a company called Virtual Incision, which is in my city of Lincoln, Nebraska, and was developed as a startup company out of research performed in the lab of Dr. Shane Ferreter, who is pictured in the center bottom there. And the actual event that's shown there is it occurred about 1 year ago with what they call the Space Mira, which was a space rated version of their small, minimally invasive surgical robot that's shown on the right. So you have the small robot, which is inserted into the body. You have the visualization console and you have the control console. And in Space Mira, all of the large components were housed in a control room on Earth with the small flight component stored in a locker that is compatible with the International Space Station. So they sent this device to the space station, as I said, roughly 1 year ago, to perform what I believe to be the only simulated surgical procedure ever performed on the International Space Station. And so the characteristics of this robot really lend itself for that dual use, the space application, because of its small size and because of the capacity for remote control for telesurgery paradigms. And so this is what enabled them to get that space mission launched and successfully performed. I want to talk a little bit about mindset. As Professor Prisla mentioned, I work in the area of robotics, and part of my work spans into medical robotics, but I felt it was better, rather than focusing exclusively on robotics, to talk with you more about mindset. And so I found this book interesting called The Checklist Manifesto. It talked about the transition of a mindset between the aerospace industry and medicine. And checklists, it's all about checklists. A systematic way of making sure you are following the right procedure and not forgetting anything. And this was used in the aerospace industry for decades. Once people decided that they could use the same mindset, the same style of thinking to create efficiencies and more robust systems in healthcare, the outcomes difference was huge. The main outcome was to decrease the incidence of preventable medical errors. So this is just one example of how the mindset that one adopts can have a big influence on the outcomes. And in particular, when we think back to at the beginning of my talk, what is it that we're seeking? We're looking for robust solutions to these medical/space design problems. And the outcome of this mindset adoption in particular was a robustness of the system, better outcomes, less error. So speaking of mindsets, there are plenty of mindsets and plenty of approaches for designing in different domains. I want to point out just a few that I think are relevant to the space domain and the healthcare domain and might help us to bridge between the two. There's the so-called double diamond design approach, which is pictured on the right, which starts with discovery. In other words, broadening one's perspective on the problem at hand, essentially discovering what the problem is, and then narrowing down through a problem definition process to arrive at a concise description of the problem that will be solved in the kind of immediate time frame and scope. Then another broadening phase to develop possible solutions. We think of this as ideation or brainstorming. And then narrowing from those possible solution sets down to a solution that will be delivered as the end product. In a similar way, design thinking is a very popular framework for design. This process also has a lot of the same characteristics. We might think of discovery as empathizing, putting ourselves in the place of the user of the product, followed by defining the problem, and then ideating and broadening that solution space, followed by prototyping to rapidly test ideas and use actual experiments more than analysis to find which solutions will be the best, and to kind of broadly explore that solution space that was created in the ideation phase. And then that loop is iterated until a good solution is found. So the double diamond and the design thinking processes have a fair number of similarities, but they're kind of different structures, and they give you a flexibility in how to approach these types of problems that have broad potential, big solution spaces. Another philosophy that I think is helpful in these difficult and challenging design problems is the philosophies of axiomatic design. It's called axiomatic design because it relies on two axioms or principles. And one of those is to decouple the functional requirements from each other. In other words, if I have a design problem that has three requirements, I want to be able to achieve each of those three requirements with the parameters, the design freedoms that I have in a more independent way, so that if I change something with respect to one of the requirements, it doesn't break one of the other outcomes that I'm looking for. And the other axiom that is embedded in axiomatic design is, I paraphrase it as, keep it simple. Design complexity often increases the number of potential failure points. And so these two axioms taken together can be layered on top of these other design philosophies and can help us, especially in the narrowing of potential solutions, to choose ones that will be robust, as I mentioned before, so important for the healthcare and space design domains.
So, Professor Nelson, the time is not so kind with us, so
yeah, I will finish in 30 seconds. I'll just summarize by saying that these are methods that can help us to have divergent thinking, but also have robust solutions. And as we do more and more research in human health and in space, that cross-pollination will continue to expand, pushing us towards more technology development. And people with this cross-pollinated expertise will be valuable in the process, in giving us potential for innovation in a variety of areas, including these that I show here. I do greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Nelson. I hope you see you again and at the next conference. So our guest, back to the earth, is Marianne Gheorghe, my colleague from Association Agriculture Association. Yes. I think that you have to push the button, please.
This one works?
Yes, thank you.
So, for the beginning, thank you for the invitation and also Sylvia for organizing this amazing panel. I'm not only honored to be among you, but also to show my respect to you. Yeah, louder, okay. So it's very important for us that you bring together cross-sectorial key actors in order to develop a better future, and as the entire event is based on bioeconomy and health to space, I think it's very important to bring agriculture onto the table, as we say, and also to see how this impacts our future. We have a saying in agriculture, no food, no farmers, no food, no future. So that's very important. Every one of us will eat something today at least once. So therefore we need to have good food on our tables. So let's see how this impacts, how the science and development through the space and not only impacts agriculture. I would like to take you through a journey. That's why I don't have a presentation. I want to be much more close to you and to understand and to transmit the needs that we have it as humans. And as Sylvia said, let's come back to Earth a little bit after this amazing incursion through the space and information that was gathered there. First of all, we as Precision Agriculture Association, we are trying to gather all the information that our farmers, and not only our farmers, companies that are involved in agriculture are receiving day and day. What they can do with all this information when they don't have somebody to read it, to transform it in some resumes, and at the end of the day to create something better with it. For example, our association is involved in many projects, and during those years, we try to understand a little bit better the technology. For the moment, for example, we are developing a project that is going to test 6G in agriculture, not only to be used with sensors and drones, but also for data management systems. Once again, it's a pretty good thing to have this, but for example, sun influences us very much. Why? Because it creates shadows, and at the end of the day, the plants, which are small or bigger, can be influenced by our decisions. In the meantime, with the same company and same association, we are developing or researching edge, let's say, critical things and edge technology in farmer's yard. This put two questions. On one side, when you have cloud or 6G or data-based technology, you transfer the cost to one company, let's say like this, and you distribute it evenly among the farmers that are using the technology. On the other side, when you have the edge technology or the hardware on the machines, you are using and you are transferring the cost, the total cost to the end customer. So in this situation, the customers or the farmers are not able to create better and let's say cheaper food for everybody. So in that regard, we need to develop more, we need to invest more, and to research a little bit more regarding this topic. Through our association, we created some clusters related to the technology that is used daily in our activities as farmers. So for example, we are trying to understand agronomical aspects, technological aspects, and at the end of the day, the management aspects or skills that needs to be transferred to the end user or the farmer. From agronomical point of view, for example, I will bring you into attention something very interesting and special, which is used for so many years. Have you heard about biodynamical agriculture? You don't know about it. Do you think that sun influences the crops into the field or the wind? Of course, yeah. We have the sunflower, which is called Helianthus anus and has a process called heliotropism that follow the sunlight. Yeah, so from the morning to the evening follows the sunlight. How farmers are using it from ancient time, the wind, for example. They are sowing the rows with the same direction with the most blowing wind, we say it's not so, or the dominant wind, just to improve the pollination by itself, by the nature. So therefore, no intervention is needed in order to improve the capacity of yielding or production or harvesting. Through our laboratories and our research center that we have it in Bucharest and not only, we are also developing and implementing different kind of researches, such as vertical farming, or how to use, for example, light in phenotypical or phenotyping different kind of crops. This is very important for us because in other countries like China, for example, or United States of America, they are developed these greenhouses fully automated. We are having on a small scale for the moment, but for sure in the future we can do it with no hesitation also in space to create maybe food in the space, like we want to say at least 200 to 300 years to have our farms on Mars. I don't think it will be possible or not, but we are aiming for that. Yeah, so this entire discussion regarding the Precision Agriculture Association gathers all the multi-sectorial actors, bring it into the same room and creates a framework regarding the policymakers, regarding the research, development and innovation centers, and put it all together to the end user. So for us, this is a very important thing to create better food, better future. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please, Dragoș. Exactly. Yeah.
And if we don't understand and just analyze healthcare just by human beings dot, we won't do any innovation and we won't get where we want.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being here.
So, we finish, I think, but not without my professor and my mentor, Adrian Păsla.
So
Please.
let's have a closer then.
Yes, you have to conclude this panel.
First of all, I like to thanks to the Space Connection that make Professor Nelson to be with us today. So once again, many thanks to Professor Nelson. That is very early in the States,
Yes.
but he was prepared. I think it's a very special person and dean not in the teaching only, but also in connection with companies and with robotics. So it's one of the first in the world about that. Speaking about the dual application, so we celebrate today the birth of Nobel guys, Alfred Nobel. So he made things in double application. So one side it's the dynamite, and the other side the appreciation of the scientific life. So it's today, it was in 1833, but 21st of October. So dual application, it's possible. Yeah. So on the other side, yeah, of course, we know. And that's I have some slides or just like that? Okay, so I can afford that.
We have your presentation,
Yeah.
so yes, please.
So I can use the
And of course, we have some questions. What? Yes,
All right.
okay.
Because I will want to point the main moments that I correlate with what the great speakers of today. So I don't want to say, you see, I was right, because it's a phrase that my wife said. So it's not in my way. But there are people here that I told you that really made possible and put Romania on the map. So you see the representation of the institution actually that made possible to make this connection in a most profitable way. The space and the health, the Technical University in Cluj-Napoca, then the University of Medicine that represented also here. Then we have the ROSA that it's represented, and the ESA that it's represented, and the agricultural dimension, and the new cluster space technology that it's the Space in Transylvania cluster. So nothing was really possible if you are not considering the American partnerships, so the NASA. So they offer for many years, the 65 years actually, the capacity to have data, to have an example. I remember as a kid when I see the step on the moon, the black and white TV, so it's something that you cannot forget. And then there are a lot of information and data that they are providing freely. Of course, there are also secret data, but they made possible things to be used. And then 50 years of ESA, it's very important for us also. And this connection, you see, there are a lot of there must be also some laser pointer somewhere here. Well, doesn't matter. So that there are many centers. So we are connected. The headquarters is in Paris, okay. But we have in Germany about 3 or 4 locations. And the medical doctor present here, Mr. Benner, so it was also there to be selected one of the people from ESA to be as astronaut. So he followed personally this kind of experience. And then in Norway, in Netherlands, our laboratory was presented with the financing support from ROSA and ESA, of course, together in creating a robotic docking system to simulate in the twinning by software and hardware how the docking experiments can be improved. So these all together give into the idea that if you want to go fast, okay, you go alone. So we see many examples of Romanian being very well placed and recognized as a single person, but not as a nation. But if you want to go together, it will be a chance to connect, as Dr. Benya mentioned, to connect these professional activities. We are a small country, but you see, we have here in the room the person that connects Romania with ESA. Actually, it's something that must be recognized. And you know for sure the name Nadia Comaneci in sport. And now I'm speaking about championship. So when people say, oh, you come from Romania, yes, Nadia. Well, in my, let's say, environment, when I go there and say, oh, from Romania, it's, oh, Mr. Prunaru, you have a cosmonaut there. So this was our champion in our environment, not in sport. So this must be recognized. And then we can see how the financing is divided. So participating with Romanian contribution, it's an advantage because we have the potential to take more than they give. And this must be promoted, actually, in my opinion. So we are connected with Germany because Transylvania is connected a long time with mechanics, and Germany invented the screw, actually. So, and that being very connected with the Germanian area and being very connected with robotics, we have more than 15 patents in robots or robotic solution applied in medicine area. So then we go, let's say, by hobby, because we have these examples and influenced by the possibility to connect space with medicine, we made to create this simulation system to create experience. We send the students in Germany to Bremen, in Bremen city to be trained, then Augsburg for launching pad, then in French Guiana to be directly connected with the rockets. And this was made actually by our forces. And you see a lady there that was sent by NASA in space for 8 days was planned. So Mr. Prunaru know her personally, was also a guy, the one who made the picture actually. And it was a technical mistake. So she remained there months, almost 9 months. So it was actually the possibility to see unprepared what has happened with human body in this condition. And no chance to take her back, no chance to remote intervention. So these are things that we are working on different levels to see how can we, and we are in a very, well, unfortunately, but special position. We have a war from our city 200 kilometers away, so not very far away. So we recreate some teleoperation medicine for the military forces that must work in remote conditions. We cannot afford to put in the first line medical staff. Things can be repaired, people, very difficult. And now we see that NASA, well, with the British support, I say, they make a simulation area to create, people are not prepared, as was mentioned, to be doctors there. They have a pre-preparation, pre-assistance, but then now they imagine, because they're not for tourists or traveling, but it's for an outer space laboratory and for people that actually they sacrifice themselves to be there, even if they enjoy or not. It's a second element. And we look for a domain. You heard the name in United Nations environment. They say peaceful operation of the space. But actually it's a no-rule domain, because you have to be there and to have the power to influence. Otherwise, from here, I can say everything about what happens on the moon. If I'm not there, if I cannot intervene, it's nothing. So the competitivity between the space powers, it's for the profit and for the technological supremacy. So these are actually the main goals. And if we are not connected, we will lose both of them. We are small already, so if you lose that too, it will be difficult. So, boundaries of innovation in extreme conditions. There are researchers, we find out, also our friends, German friends, let's say, because they are closest with huge potential connected with our university. So experiments that they are doing there, we find out that we are doing also. But of course, the scale could not be one-to-one. We don't have the same resources. And about the radiation, it's possible to see the radiation influences of real tissues, real bodies, real bones in different environments. So I have to stop. I was disconnected, so I was talking too much. So, in a word, I want to thank you so much to be here. So for us, these people and you, ladies and gentlemen, are the support to continue. Thank you so much.
Professor Kuzla. Professor Kuzla has over 40 years of experience in robotics, mechatronics, and dynamic modeling. Is author of 40 books, over 150 publications, and several patents, and coordinator of Siemens Center in Cluj-Napoca. So thank you for today, and thank you for the 3 years together. So now we open a very short Q&A session, because the time is not so kind with us, but we have to put it some questions, because we have here a very special guest. So if we have questions from, please. No. Maybe this.
So very briefly, what are the main legislative and technical barriers to the technology transfer from space to health? Yes. So what are the main legislative and technical barriers to the technology transfer from health to space and space to health, in a few words?
About legislation.
So what would you change in the legislation, EU legislation, to overcome this barrier? Is there a legislation barrier? Is there a technical barrier?
First of all, I think we need to have some technology transfer between space and Earth. This is the first idea. So I would be glad if we might have this level of innovation to adapt things from space to Earth. On the other hand, it is an older domain in space technology. It is called space spin-offs. And for example, NASA, since 1985, is keeping an annual catalog of space spin-offs. So the result of application to Earth-like technologies from space developments. So this area is well known, and it is You see, it is one of the productive area in the thinking of patents and thinking of new technologies. And simply, if you can take a look on this, on such a catalog, simply NASA Space spin-off catalog, you can find it on some of the NASA websites. And you should think that in more than, let's say, in 4 decades, there are probably at least 400, 500 of very successful application of space technology to Earth. I'm not so sure that we need some specific rules or regulations, because they are the normal regulations utilized in intellectual property all over the world. So
Okay.
I can give you details if needed.
Do you want to answer?
Tech transfer between domains, it's not a problem. Never. The problem is between the authorities, between public and private, between the companies. That's where is the problem of tech transfer, between, different states, but not between domains. That's why you find those people gather up together here today, because they exchange their knowledge. So tech transfer is no issue between domains. It's issue between, legal identities. So if it's between public and private, between states and so on and so forth. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question.
I just want to add a thing specific for Europe and for Romania. So the European Space, Romania as a member of the European Space Agency, as a member state, has access to all the intellectual property produced in ESA. So this is an extremely important issue, and unfortunately, Romania is not making use of this capability too much. So it is important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Another questions, please?
The last one, because due to the time constraint, I will give up all the questions I had in mind, keeping but one. For the most prominent figure present today in this panel, to His Excellency Dorin Dumitru Prunariu. Looking back at the time when, as a student in the high school, I was looking at you and wondering what could happen up there in space, then seeing people in the International Space Station doing something and wondering what are they doing there, what they are performing. I would like you to give us in the end of this panel some thoughts about encouragement and goodwill for the people who are willing to follow your steps. Thank you. I'll give you mine.
Okay, it's working. No, I learned the button. See, first time no, second time I've seen, and now I push it. Actually, see, during our discussions today, you see there are many problems connected with the space flight, many medical problems, but in the same time, the space medicine is developing pretty fast. The results are amazing, and the products of technology to heal people on Earth and in space are also developing very fast. So you have to have courage, strength, determination, to love what you do, to love space and space flight, and just to fly. Of course, if you think, first of all, at the risks, you are maybe discouraged. But if you learn more about what could happen, what really happens into the outer space, you see that the results are positive. The development of science is advancing fast, and you are, in a way, protected. Of course, there are some situations where you are not really protected, but you have to take into consideration some risks. And there, this is my advice.
Thank you. So,
Okay, thank you, thank you.
okay. We have another questions, or maybe we sent, no? It was the last one? Okay. Yes, we can have a picture. Thank you for all. Yes. So we talk about collaboration, so let's continue this journey together. First, we make the picture together. Okay. Oh. Okay.